Ma'am, we are live now. We are going to start.
Just let me know when to start, okay?
A very good evening, everyone. I, Dr. Misbah Kadri, will be the moderator for today's session. I welcome you all to the Cynodent International and Indian Society of Dentistry webinar series 2023. Theme of this series is Unlocking the Trends in Dentistry. For the first webinar of today, I would like to invite Dr. Pinky Mathur ma'am. She is prosthodontist, implantologist, and also the Honorable Secretary of Indian Dental Association, Ajmer. Topic for this session is solving dilemma about bonding agents used in smile designing. I would like ma'am to please start with this session.
Hello, everybody. A very good evening, and I've got a very nice intro by Dr. Misbah. Thank you, Team Cynodent, for always, being like a wonderful organizing team, and all the very best to you. The way you all have been getting everything on a single platform really means a lot for a lot of people who can reach it easily. And wishing you all a very happy Diwali. So let's start. A 30-minute session. I have to cover a lot of things, so let's start. So basically today I'm going to talk about smile designing, which has a part of dental bonding. Right, a lot of people have been hearing me these days when I've been speaking a lot of smile designing with the help of porcelain veneers. But today let's talk about some part of it which generally in the CDs or the lectures we talk very less about, and have been getting a lot of queries about it, that we want to know more about bonds, and we want to know how to select the bonding agent. And why am I talking about dental bonding? Because see, of course you make the best of the prosthesis, but you have to have it staying in the patient's mouth. So what's going to help you in that? Your bonding agent or your adhesive agent. So talking about them in detail and covering most of it in the next 30 minutes, you guys are going to be able to choose that bonding agent and that dental adhesive which you feel, and you're going to be like a pro in choosing them, not going to have your failures, not going to have your porcelain coming out, because definitely smile designings are expensive. It's one of the latest upcoming trend. You have a lot of patients coming in and asking you that we want to design our smile. You have patients coming in saying we want the Hollywood smile, the Bollywood smile. So definitely I'm going to talk about porcelain veneers. I'm sure most of you all know what veneers are. When we talk about porcelain veneers, we talk about these. We talk about a layer of veneering or a layer of laminate which is stuck to your tooth with the help of an adhesive agent. Not going in too much detail because I've been told to stick to bonding. So basically, I'm going to talk about dental bonds, which has been one of the most upcoming and one of the most asked thing by participants, because it's been one of the thing which is a dilemma. Because generally what happens is you have a representative coming in, he tells you ye bond acha hai, wo bond acha hai, ye acha hai, wo acha, I am best. You what do you think while selecting a bond? You just go in, you think ye sasta hai, ye sari cheezein de raha hai, let's do it. And when your bonding fails or your uh, laminate comes out or your restoration fails, you think I did everything best and I got one of the best bonds. Why did that happen? So this webinar is going to be an answer, friends, to all your doubts. To is going to be an answer to everything you have to know about choosing your bonds, your bonding agent. So, and also you have had cases where you must have having patients who coming in and say, uh, सब कुछ ठीक है, लेकिन जब से ये दांत लगाया है ठंडा गर्म पानी बहुत लगता है. I'm sure most of y'all must be having a lot of people coming in and saying this. So this is going to be a one-stop solution for all your doubts. So basically, these are expensive treatment plans. Of course, most of y'all are into the world of smile designing, and the reason why y'all are in this webinar today is because you guys somewhere or the other want that, the sieving, or you want that focus on, it should just be like, okay, fine, I know this is the reason why my bond is failing. So laminate veneers are of course really expensive if you go in for porcelain. I am a prosthodontist. I advocate more of porcelain veneers. So not in the controversy of porcelain or we go in for composite, but I'm going to talk about porcelain veneers, and hence I'm talking about bonds. So yes, quite expensive. Patient comes in, most of the time the patient is already convinced for a smile designing, hence he has come to you, hence he wants to get it done. So if you're giving patient something which is really expensive, You can't afford to have it failed. If your bond fails or if the laminate comes out, you're going to have a great time with your patient because he's going to say, "Aapne to kaha tha, ye kabhi nahi niklega, aapne to warranty di thi," right? So whenever I learn about or read about or know about or students ask me about failed veneer cases, one of the reasons is of course debonding. So it always reminds me and makes me remember of this great hero. And he had his accident in one of the world's safest car, right? He had an accident in a Porsche, and Porsche is supposed to be one of the safest cars in the world. So expensive doesn't mean that your expensive bonds doesn't mean that your bond is going to be everlasting. You get the best bond in the world, but if you don't know where to apply it, it's like having being the best person, having the best tool, but don't know how to use it, right? So let's go ahead and talk about adhesing and bonding. Now, because I cannot see most of you all because it's a live session, and I don't want it to be like, a Babaji ka pravachan where, I keep talking and you keep listening. No, we don't want something of this sort to happen. So I don't know if I'll be able to see some hands up or if I'll be able to see some involvement. I don't know, but I want you all to be glued, write down, pen down those doubts because I'm going to be here to solve all your doubts. But don't leave anything unturned, unknown, and unclarified. So let's start with our session. So addition and bonding is something what you know is you stick something to something else. You know what Fevikwik and Fevicol do in your life? That is what a bonding agent is going to do when it comes to a tooth. But why is this bonding so critical? Now, when we talk about adhesion, we are talking about bonding in two structures. One is the enamel and one is going to be your dentine. Now, when we talk about porcelain laminates, we talk about as thin as sections of 0.5 to say 1 mm, where we ideally want our enamel reduction for the laminates to come and stick in. But sometimes in some cases where you might have fluorosis or you might have some deep stain or you might have an area which was already treated for a previous laminate and you have to do that thing again, or for example the cervical areas of any tooth where the enamel is really thin and you have to give a margin there, and the enamel in the cervical area is as thin as 0.3 to 0.5, and sometimes while preparing those margins you might just end up chipping off the enamel and enter into the dentine even in microns. So it is very important for you to know that enamel bondings are different and dentine bondings are different. Now, why are enamel and dentine bondings different? Because enamel has a totally different structure and dentine has a totally different structure. Enamel has a different content with which it is made. Dentine has a different content. So let's see what I mean when I talk about content. Now, enamel is made up more of mineral. When I talk about hydroxyapatite, I talk about crystals, prisms. It's more of whatever you see is more of inorganic material. Inorganic material basically has very less water content also. Now, when I talk about dentine, dentine has definitely inorganic material, but it has a lot of organic material as well as it has a lot of water content in it. So whenever I talk about bonding to a surface which does not have water content, I'm okay with it because nothing is going to come and dissolve my bond. But when I talk about a surface which has water in its structure or which has water in its composition, I'm going to have a substance which is going to come and disturb my bond in and out. In and out. So when I choose my bonding agent for an enamel and dentine, the course of action is going to be totally different. So hence, after this lecture in the as we pick up forward and forward, you will come to know a lot of things that why it was enamel different and why was dentine. So two things. My first thing you need to know, I'm bonding in enamel or I'm bonding in dentine. So you need to know which structure you're acting on or which structure you are working on. I hope I'm clear, guys. Moving ahead, when we talk about bonding, the first thing we all talk about etchants. We all say etchants chahiye. What do? You call up a lab guy and you said, "हाँ एक है ना phosphoric acid भेज देना," right? Why phosphoric acid भेज देना? Is it the only etchant which is available? Of course not. There are a lot of etchants available. The only reason you should know, why are you using phosphoric acid? Now we have EDTA, we have citric acid, tannic acid, malic acid, polyacrylic acid. We even have lasers, and we even have air abrasions with which we etch. And now the etching of air abrasion is also done on the inner surface on of your zirconia laminates, right? So what are you doing by etching? You are just going to remove that layer, or you're just going to increase surface area, dissolve that particular amount of calcium from your, or hydroxyapatite from your layer of your upper layer of enamel. Hence it is going to form some tags, and hence you have the surface area. So basically, when I use a phosphoric acid or an etchant, what I'm aiming at, I want to increase my surface area by dissolution of some amount on the surface area, right? I want some amount of dissolution of the structure or the enamel surface, so that we go ahead and we have more surface area being exposed, so that you can have more area for bonding. So this is why we used etchants. And why phosphoric acid? Because there have been a lot of studies where they said the bond which was done when etching was done with phosphoric acid was more potent and more long lasting than the bonds which were done with these other substances. So hence, because we have a lot of data behind this, we have chosen phosphoric acid for conditioning your surface. I hope I'm clear with this. Now, when you do this etching, you apply this phosphoric acid on your substance, on your substrate. Just one more thing I would like to add in this. Why is this figure 37% only? Why I could have just done 20% or just 60%? Do you think it was Bunacore's lucky number, so he said 37? Or 3 plus 7 is equal to 1 is equal to lucky number? This is how nowadays people calculate, like birth dates, and that's how you take your car number and you take your house number. Okay, so why 37%? Of course, in dentistry or in anything, it's all a science, right? It's all an science which has engineering and artistic. Now, when the science was made for etching, it was seen that on the tooth, when they etched with 20%, we didn't have enough dissolution of this in this interprismatic or these prisms of enamel, right? And when we were doing it more than 37%, say about 60% phosphoric acid, there were places where we saw that there was deposition of calcium, dicalcium monophosphate. So because of this dicalcium monophosphate, it formed a separate layer, and hence it did not let bonding happen. So hence they came down to 37% phosphoric acid. Now we also have a time of 37% phosphoric acid to be 20 to 30 seconds, which is written in most of the manufacturing, what do you say, your manuals, all of them, whatever they give you, it's 20 to 30 seconds. Now again, why? And even sometimes you have some places give you for 15 seconds. Now again, why 15 to 30 seconds, and why not 60 second or 10 second? Okay, so basically, as I said, lesser was not acceptable. Of course, studies showed a not so satisfactory bonding time. But when it came to 60 seconds, they saw that the amount which was done and amount of resin tags that were made, or amount of conditioning that was achieved with the help of 20 30 seconds of the substance being on the substrate of enamel was equal to the resin tags which were made in 60 seconds. So अगर आपको 30 मिनट में भी वही रिजल्ट मिल रहा है and 60 seconds में भी वही रिजल्ट मिल रहा है, why do you want to stick to 60 seconds? So hence it is 30 seconds. So I told you it's a science. You should know whatever you're doing, why you're doing, and where you're doing. So I'm very sure that you all are clear about etching, what happens in etching, how etching is done. It's the basic that you need to know, not going into studies, not going to technicalities, but it is something that you need to know. Now, there might be a question where people say that, what do we do in fluorosis cases? Right? Because of course, when we do etching, it's going to be conditioning of the enamel, and in fluorosis, you don't have the perfect enamel made, because you have some amylogenesis which didn't happen properly. So in that cases, you just double the etching time. So when you're working on, say, for example, a smile designing, or for a laminate or a veneer on a tooth which has come to you after being attacked or affected by fluorosis, you just double your etching time. to get that frosty white appearance. So now you know that why you etch, how much time you etch, because etching is a very important part of bonding when it comes to enamel. Enamel, inverted commas. By the end of the session, you'll agree with me. Why did I say only enamel here? Okay, so let's go ahead. So now whenever you etch the surface, you see these resin tags forming, right? This part is dissolved and washed away whenever you wash away, and then you have your whatever your substrate coming in, your resin cements coming in, your composite resins, which come in, and whichever are going to act like an adhesive agent, they are going to come in and they are going to go into these resin tags, and they're going to nicely settle and hold them, because this is going to be an increase in surface area. Now, increase in surface area, formation of resin tags. I hope everybody is crystal clear about this. So now coming to dentine, the most hype up thing, what everybody is talking about, dentin bonding agents, dentine bonding agents. I don't want you all to call it dentine bonding agent or enamel bonding agent anymore. The reason being, it's the, the era where bonds are universal. You have just one bond, whether it has to be on the dentine or the enamel. So we rather call it bonding agents. Now, why the dentine be that person or that hero who needed that extra attention when it came to bonding or failure of these laminate restorations? Be glued to it, guys. Concentrate, because it's going to be a lot of information that you have to absorb. It's going to be a lot of things that you're going to learn in the next 15 to 20 minutes, because here is going to be the master art, where even when you do composites and your patient comes back and says, I didn't have sensitivity before you bonded, and now I have a lot of sensitivity. And also it's going to be your master key for those long lasting restorations. So let's go. Open up your minds and be ready to absorb. Now, when I talk about dentine, you have to know about the anatomy. As we spoke about prisms and prismatic prismatic compaction, or a prismatic substance or arrangement of the enamel rods. Here we have something called as a dentinal tubules in the dentine, which all of us know. Now these dentinal tubules are very close to your pulp, or everybody knows this. And you have your odontoblastic processes, which is having its those extensions into the dentinal tubules. Also, when I spoke about the water content in the tubules, we had a lot of water inside these dental tubules, which is present. So, three things you have to keep in mind, which is going to be your game changer here. The dental tubules having nerve endings from the pulp, from the odontoblasts and the odontoblastic processes. Your dental tubules having a lot of water content in it. And these tubules have this fluid flowing in and out under an atmospheric pressure of 25 to 30. Now, this atmospheric pressure plays a very, very big role. There is a pressure inside these dental tubules, which is going to play a lot of roles. Whenever anything which these tubules don't like is going to penetrate this, it's going to form a pressure which is not acceptable to the pulp, and hence you guys are going to have the patient coming back with sensitivity. And if there's anything where this water is not made in association with, this water is going to come out and it's going to destroy your bonds. So now you need to know three things here: the fluid content in dental tubule, the pressure with which it is present, the movement of the fluid in and out, which causes sensitivity, and the nerve and your odontoblastic processes with the nerve endings. So now whenever you're going to prepare anything, we all know about smear layer. In short, for all those people who are attending this, we also have certain BDS students who are attending this from the second and third year. Just going back to it, smear layer is nothing but, in layman terms, the small dental shavings which we have, or we have certain substances which accumulate on preparation on the top layer of your substrate of your preparation surface, and some amount of it also goes and forms a plug into your dental tubule. So this is the smear layer. Now the smear layer is a very, very important structure. Initially, when we were talking about enamel and forming a smear layer and dealing with the smear layer of enamel, we generally remove this entire thing and it doesn't really matter because it's a dry substance. But whatever I'm going to apply as a bonding agent is going to act everywhere. Aisa to nahi hai, it's going to say, acha, you're inside the tubule, I'm not going to act on you, I'm going to act everywhere else. So when this smear plug comes out from the dentine, that is the place where the problem starts. Hence, we all focus on modifying the smear layer here. We are going to modify the smear layer as well as modify the smear plug. So here I spoke about the anatomy and I spoke about the smear layer and the smear plug. Going ahead, now you have the dental tubules. Now imagine these dental tubules in a cross section. Now whatever you're seeing in a tooth is going to be like this. Now just rotate this and see this. You just rotate this tooth structure and just rotate it upwards. Okay. Now here, what you see is between the tubules, you have something called as the peritubular dentine. Okay. So this peritubular dentine is going to have little bit of organic as well as more of inorganic content. It is going to have a lot of prisms and it's going to have hydroxyapatite in this area. Just remember, intertubular dentine has hydroxyapatite. Now, also this dentinal tubules are surrounded with the help of collagen fibers. If you can see these fibers here, and these fibers have a lot of gel content or water content in them. Okay, so just remember the anatomy, brushing you on the anatomy, because that is how you're going to know how it's going to act. So tubules ho gaya, tubules ke around ka structure ho gaya, which is having they are going to be forming the walls of the tubules and going to be having in them a lot of water content. Let's go ahead. Something which I need to discuss here in detail before I move on to my next slide is whenever your phosphoric acid is going to come in, and it's going to condition your surface. It's going to dissolve whatever hydroxyapatite you're having, or it's going to dissolve whatever organic content inorganic content you're having. Now, it's also it's an acid. So acid generally is something which is going to wash out your water. When it comes to enamel, it doesn't really matter because pani nahi hai, so it's kya wash out hota, it doesn't matter. But here you have water, which is the gelatic, which forms the gel content also of your collagen fibers. So now when you're going to just apply your etchant everywhere on your enamel and you're going to wash out your etchant, it is going to remove this smear plug. Now, once this smear plug is removed, your dental tubule is going to be exposed. Apart from also, along with removing the smear plug, whatever peritubular collagen had water, that water is also going to be washed out. So once this water is washed out, your dental tubules, which were like this with nice smear plug covered on them and water content and the collagen fibers were standing like walls, after removing the water, they're going to collapse because they don't have the matrix in which they were suspended, right? So hence the reason and the difference that we do not believe in etching your dentine, because we have to maintain water content in dentine so that the patient doesn't come back with sensitivity. Now, this is the reason why your patient comes back and tells you after that restoration, I have a lot of sensitivity. Why? Sensitivity because you have washed out that extra smear layer. Instead of modifying it, the extra water from the collagen fibers have been washed out. Apart from that, you have your dental tubules exposed. The liquid inside is exposed now to the hydrophobic resin cement. So hence it's going to move inside and outside under pressure, directly in contact with your resin cement, and it's going to cause a lot of havoc, and hence you have the sensitivity. You don't want the resin cement to be directly in contact with the dental tubules. You want them to be in the chamber inside, and you want the upper layer to be modified in such a way that it acts also as a covering agent for your dental tubules. Also, it will help something which will maintain the water content, and also it will be something which will help in adhesive and being and helping in the adherent to come there and sit in with your composite resins. So this is the reason why something came in for the savior as a primer, because we wanted etching to happen. Etching will do what? Pull out the water. If the water is out of dentine, we are going to have, if the water is out of dentine, we are going to have the dentine being collapsed. We are going to have sensitivity. We are going to have weaker bonds because the water inside and outside dentine will keep moving. So, what to do in these cases? Not put a veneer or laminate on where dentin is exposed. Of course, that is not the thing. No, we cannot help it. How much ever we want, however technically sound you are, we would not, of course, want you know कोई भी जानबूझ के डेंटिन में तो घुसेगा नहीं. And if he's in the dentine, you would not want that the patient comes back with failed restorations. So for this reason, something which came as a hero was the primer. So primer did what? Primer was told to come and solve the issue. He was told to become the middleman. He said, okay, fine, I will take up, I we need something to be bonded to the dentine. I will take up the extra water which is needed to be removed, so that my hydrophobic resin cement comes and attaches, and I will give that extra water to the collagen fibers to maintain their gelatic form. So basically, primer has acetone and alcohol, which washes away the extra water which is not needed for the collagen fibers around the dental tubules to form the network. And at the same time, it has substances like MDP and other things, which is going to go and give that extra water content or maintain that extra water content along or around the collagen fibers. Hence, you don't have to apply a spray of air, or say with a three-way syringe. You don't need to, wash it out or dry it out, because there is something which is going to sit there, give the water to the collagen and remove the extra water. And so basically a primer has two mode of actions. It's hydrophilic and hydrophobic. It is hydrophilic for your collagen fibers and it is hydrophobic for your resin cement or composite cement, which is going to come in and going to be helping of bonding of your restoration to the tooth. I hope this is crystal clear. You can ask me any doubt. So basically, you know why we have primers. We heard about etchants, we heard about bonding. What is this primer which keeps coming all the time? And everybody keeps coming saying primer, primer, primer. So now you know what a primer is, to maintain the water content of your collagen fibers and also to remove the extra water. Also, so what is it doing? What is this primer doing? You're not washing out anything. It's just modifying whatever you had. So basically, you're modifying the smear layer, right? So now coming into the short of what I spoke so long. Now just imagine this is your dentine. Okay, these are your collagen fibers here. Okay, now your collagen fibers are all exposed, right? Because you had one nice you had a nice preparation. You had your smear layer over here. You have a smear layer made on this. Now what do you do in these cases? You are going to modify this layer to form a hybrid layer. Instead of, if you would have just done the normal etching, it would have formed a nice tag and your tubules would have exposed. So you don't want this to happen. You want this to happen. You want the modification of this layer, which is called as a hybrid layer, which will maintain the water content and you don't have to wash it out. And at the same time, it will be a hydrophobic layer for helping your composite resin to coming and attached to it. I hope this is crystal clear now. So this is what I've been speaking about. This is your smear plug, which has been formed when you were preparing, containing all your dental shavings and all the substances. Now, once what happens is you apply your bonding agent and you have your residual smear layer present here. It has removed whatever it could dissolve, and also at the same time, it has maintained the water, as well as it is going to act as hydrophobic, and it wants your adhesive resin to come and sit here. It is hybridized. Why hybridized? Because it's been modified in such a way with a hydrophilic content for your dentine to be safe and a hydrophobic content to help your adhesive resin cement to come up and attach. I hope it's crystal clear. Okay, so now this is a question which you all have to ask yourself. Is etching the enamel and dentine the same? Right? If yes, then why there is an emphasis to stay in the enamel when I talk about porcelain bonding agents? So now all of y'all know that why and where you use which etching? You etch or you don't etch? You use which bonding agent where? And how do you handle it? And I'm sure that most of you all know that enamel and dentine have a similar thing. Let's go ahead. Now, when we talk about bonding agents, you all have heard about this big dilemmas which is being given into your books and which have been discussed into your books, where everybody says first generation, second generation, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. And now we also have certain companies coming in and saying ki eighth generation be available. And we always had that confusion that what are we doing? First, third generation, we won't speak about because it doesn't actually make too much sense to us. But let's talk about the fourth generation, which had the total edge concept. Now, what is this total edge and self edge? Two things you need to ask the person who's coming to give you the bonding agent. Total edge hai ya self edge hai? Very simple. You all know it already, guys. It's just the word I've given you. All of you all know it. It is self edge or total edge. Total edge, when I apply the etchant all over and I just rinse it out, is total edge. Selective edge is somewhere where I have my dentine and as well as my enamel surface. So I etch my enamel and I don't etch my dentine. So you're going to be selective, right? You're selecting the enamel to be etched and dentine not to be etched. Selective edge. And when I talk about self etch, it is something which you apply, which is going to act as the bonding agent as well as is going to act as the etchant. And it is going to be something that is going to be an all-in-one thing. So self etching. Simple. I hope it's clear now. Okay, so now let's go to the bonds. I've already mentioned clearly to you. Now when I talk about my fourth generation, I have a separate etchant, separate adhesive and separate primer. When I talk about fifth generation, what they have done, we are humans, you know. हम लोग क्या करते हैं, आटा थोड़ी अभी आट से हाथ से गूंथते, we have आटा makers. We don't want to wash the utensils with our hands. We have dishwashers. We don't want to say agar if you want to make chutneys at home, you don't take the old time, you don't take the mortar pestle or silbatta and you start. Of course you have the mixer grinder. So you want something which is compact, you want something which is time saving. So people came in and said, okay fine, let's put the adhesive and primer in one bottle and let the etchant be separate. Now when they did this, they saw that the dentine was acting very bad. The dentine was not happy with it. You couldn't do this. There was failure of bond to the dentine in fourth and fifth generation. Plus, when the adhesive and primer sat in the same bottle, they were not modified in such a way. They were trying to, destroy each other's chemical composition. So hence, we came up with a fifth and sixth generation. Now in sixth generation, what they did, they put the etchant and the primer in the same bottle and they put the adhesive in the separate bottle. Why? Because we've already saying that adhesive hydrophobic, hydrophobic, hydrophobic. And so what they did is they said, okay, let's put the etchant and primer in one bottle. So whenever my etchant is going to be there, etchant will go there, remove the water content, remove everything, but my primer will come in as a hero and supply back the water content. So they said, okay, let's put it in one bottle. Now, further, when they came to the seventh generation, they said, let's modify it. They came with something called as the MDP, which has acted like a hero. So whenever you are selecting your bonding agents, you must have heard about Tegma, Bisma, but go in for MDPs because MDPs are less acidic. They are something which do not destroy. Being in the same bottle with your adhesive, they are not destroying the composition too much. So just go ahead with something which has an MDP. So the seventh generation came in as a hero. They said, okay, don't rinse us or don't do anything. We'll all do it as one purpose. So when I talk about seventh generation, it is something which you don't need to rinse. But if you are being in enamel or you're putting an porcelain veneer on enamel, I would still advise apply etchant and rinse because it doesn't matter. But when you're in dentine, uses universal bonds, you don't etch, you don't rinse the dentine. You want something to maintain its water content and you want the peaceful vibe of the dental tubules to be maintained so that the patient doesn't have sensitivity and the fluid inside and outside is not disturbing your bonds. So you don't rinse dentine. Hence here you had your all-in-one universal which came in and it's a fad. Now when you select your bonding agents, go ahead and ask the company, what is the content? Is it self-etching or is it selective etching? Is it a total etch? Go to your closets and pick up those bonding agents and read what is given on that. Read it is one step. Read whether it is two step. Places where there are two step, it is written two step etching plus bonding. Places where it is universal, you have universal options on the screen which I've given. You can order any one of them, right? So this is what I want you all to know. You all should know. And one more thing, applying your bonding agents. I have seen people just taking the bond, applying it on the surface and just leaving it out. No, you have to press or apply the bonding agent in such a way that it is going to go and modify your smear layer. Apply it for 5 minutes there. Keep applying 3 to 4 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. You have companies like Cohen which have given it in their manual that apply bonding agent for 3 to 5 minutes. Press, apply, dip, press and apply, dip, press and apply for 3 to 5 minutes. And then you can cure it. Or sometimes people say don't cure it because you're already in the light, which is going to start the process. But I generally advise curing for 10 seconds. So here we go with your 7th generation bond. And which system you would use, because I'm talking about bonding in veneers. So total etch and rinse for enamel, self-etching when you talk about dentine, and selective etching. Now, what is the selective etching? Sun liya, bahut bol liya. Now, let's have a clear picture. Now, if you can see here in this picture, this nice classified cavity, you can see dentine exposure, but here we are in enamel. You think you are going to apply your etching bonding. You must have been having cases like this where you're doing nice resin cements and the patient comes back filling nikal gaya, filling nikal gaya. Why? Because there's so much water going to be present here. So much water going to be present here. When you're etching, you're going to over dry it and the fluid, the dental tubule is going to be exposed, open tubule, and you're going to just push in your resin inside it, and that fluid is going to come up and say, okay, fine, it's my place, just get out of here. And you're going to have failed restorations all the time, right? So when I talk about class 5, when I talk about these class 5 restorations, and when I talk about these restorations where I'm talking about that what is happening here and why my restorations are failing, you are not doing selective etching. So here what do you do? I apply an etching only on the enamel part of it. And here I go in with a universal. I go in with a single step system here. Here I can apply my etchant. I told you when you're enamel, to be more confident or to, be in that thing, you can just etch it, even if you are very sure about using a universal bond system. But when you are in enamel, as well as you have the dentine there, go in for a selective etch. Etch only your enamel and let your dentine be happy with the modified smear layer, and let the dentine be worked upon with the bonding agent having a primer in it, and you're going to have restorations which are not going to fail. This is going to be one of your most successful quick tips when you talk about your bond failures and your bonding agents. You should know which surface to etch in the tooth. You should know which surface not to etch. You should know where to rinse. You should know where not to rinse. You should know which bonding agent should be applied, and you win the battle. So one quick tip here is just look for MDP monomer in your bonding agent and you're going to have the best of it, because MDP has been doing wonders these days, because MDP is not very acidic. It's not going to, cause too much of havoc to your dentine, not too much of sensitivity. And if MDP is there, it's going to go and settle in nicely inside, and it's going to be something which is the coming thing for bonding. So always look if you have MDP. MDP altogether is another topic. I can talk for hours on MDP. So hence, coming down, now you know how to select which bonding agent. So concluding my session, I would like to say, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So thank you very much, everyone. And I would, of course, solve a lot of doubts here, but still you can anytime and every time be in touch with me. And I'm very happy that after all of my sessions, I take back so many good friends who keep in touch, keep asking me doubts, share the cases. And that makes me feel very happy, guys. Really very happy. My Insta handle is pinky_mathur. You can easily find me. That's my email and that's my contact number. You can just WhatsApp, text, as most of you are already doing, sharing your cases, asking doubts. And because I got a lot of doubt about bonds, so I thought, why not go ahead with a session which talks only on bonds. I would, at the end of it, try to thank and be very glad to thank Dr. Prabhu Kumar Sanyal, my guide, who taught me everything about prosthodontics, and wishing you a very happy Diwali, all of y'all. And it's great that on a Diwali evening, you guys are glued to your screen. That 30 minutes, these 30 minutes is going to be life changing for y'all. But still, on festive day, y'all chose to give your patient that extra care. Shows me how serious you are. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you for a wonderful lesson, and thank you for being a wonderful audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the informative session as always. Now I would like to proceed with the question answer round. Should I begin, ma'am?
Yeah, please do.
Ma'am, which is the best agent we can use in practice other than phosphoric acid?
See, you can go with a lot of things. There are people who are etching their surface with citric acid. There are people who are etching their surface with lasers also. But when I am talking about see, citric acid is one conditioner, EDTA is one conditioner. But when I'm talking about etchants, I think I'm just going to be more and more particular and emphasize that please stick to phosphoric acid. It's doing wonders, and we have a lot of studies which is modifying it. So please stick to phosphoric acid.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the answer. I would like to thank founder and CEO of Cynodent, Dr. Anmol Bagaria. Sorry, ma'am, it was a technical error. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the answer. I would like to thank founder and CEO of Cynodent, Dr. Anmol Bagaria, ma'am, and co-director of Cynodent, Dr. Ashish Chandra, sir. Also, thanks to my co-moderator, Dr. Akshita Gupta. Thanks to all the participants who have joined us today, and also wishing you a very happy Diwali. I hope this Diwali brings a lot of joy in your life. And I kindly request all the viewers to please like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel for getting daily updates and webinar. Thank you, everyone, and thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful session. Thank you, ma'am.